Okay, before we get started, I was just reflecting on this thing we do, and I just have to mention that I look forward to this moment every week so much. Like, us breaking down shows and stuff is like one of my favorite things that we do. I thought about it for so long before we started doing it. Like, Breaking Bad would be like, man, I wish these conversations were recorded. So,
Cute.
And oh my gosh, do we have things to discuss?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's only one more episode left after this. I am pretty sure, like 99.9% sure.
Oh my god.
And that's what we're gonna do after that. I don't know, but
Is there gonna be another Marvel show coming up soon?
in June.
Loki starts in June. We'll find something. It's okay.
All right. So we got Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, Season 2, Episode 12. Zoey's Extraordinary Session.
It wasn't a beer, as it turns out.
So we open up on Zoey going downstairs at the house. She's all suited up. She's feeling like everything's good with the world. And Mitch is there. So, full disclosure, I read the little thing. I know. I can't help it, man. It's
That has burned you so bad in the past.
Not that bad. So when it opened up and she's walking downstairs in like a red suit with a white blouse with little blue pinstripes, and she's feeling on top of the world, and I was like, okay, this is flashback. So I wasn't surprised when Mitch showed up.
I did not have that foreknowledge. So I was like, buh? I mean, I figured out pretty quickly it was like a flashback or something, but still.
So, he's bragging about a magazine that he and Maggie are featured in. And then we find out that it's... Because she's going on about his eyebrows or something. She's like, wait, is that too much detail? Let me cut to her in a therapy session about... her therapist wants her to detail the first day that she truly felt loss. So then flashback to the flashback. Zoey and David aren't featured in the article. Just little thing. Little family moment.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I know if we really did talk about you, they just didn't print it, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever.
And then Zoe's leaving for her first day at Spark Point. She's thrilled about starting at the Spark Point. And before she leaves, Mitch gives her a sack lunch. He's reminded of her first day at school. They fist bump, and it's a really, really sweet scene with them. So Zoey arrives for her first day. She's only the 6th woman to work there. And she meets Leaf, who has a man bun.
Yes.
And then she meets Max. He's making fun of someone's suit, and then there's Zoey. Lol.
Mm-hmm.
So they sit down for the first company meeting, and there's Danny Michael Davis doing a musical number, A World of Pure Imagination from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The thing is, he's actually doing that. That's not like her.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was like it was like the musical numbers from before. It was like, he had the whole suit and like a spotlight, and he's like dancing. Mm-hmm. There was the music. She was really engaged, and everyone else was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. And she really stands out because of her bright red suit. Like, nobody else is dressed like that. They're all wearing like the muted, darker colors, browns, blues, grays.
So everything about it was cinematographically very much like an actual musical number from the show, or from a musical. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't.
Right. Zoe is so excited. She calls DMD a genius. She's very taken by the musical number, which is now a techno dance. Interesting. So it ends, and he starts talking to everyone gathered there, and he calls everyone there pre-hires. So she calls her parents because she's disappointed. Turns out her parents are headed to the hospital. And at first I was like, oh, here's where we go with Mitch. But I'm like, he's driving.
Sure.
So, not Mitch. It's because Maggie is having shortness of breath and chest pain. Max is in the background eavesdropping and grinning at her childlike nature, talking to her parents and mentions fruit roll-up in her lunch bag.
Yeah.
So back in therapy, your therapist says something like, it sounds like that was a really, stressful time, and, I can see where you'd be very, he said something like kind of like, an easy or something like very kind of low-key, and she says it was scary as title card. So we go back in the flashback. Welcome to the 4th floor. Tobin and Leaf are old buddies, but Tobin already works there. Then you get Max and Zoey going back and forth. He is derisive of the benefits, and he and Zoey are teasing each other. We get DMD video calling the pre-hires. Max wants to team with Zoey. She wants to team with Leaf, but Tobin makes Leaf team with some hot chick. Amber was her name. David, Zoey's brother, calls Zoey concerned about the hospital, and he is not with Emily, because he had mentioned earlier about taking the little lady up to whatever, but no, it's not Emily, it's this horrible girlfriend, Kirsten. Yeah. So Max and Zoey are teamed up. It's a competition to get the job. First challenge is to assemble kids' toys. Max wants to jump in, and Zoey wants to be procedural. Zoey says Max is bad at prioritizing, because he decides to build a many piece Lego set, and she's sitting there like trying to
put together as many things as possible.
Right.
Does the math to figure out what can we do quickly, what's going to assess the most points, and he just kind of dives in. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, this looks like fun.
It was a Lego T-Rex. He said, guess life found a way.
Because he was able to build it in time.
Yeah.
So, like that little Jurassic Park reference. Very nice.
Yeah. So Leaf and Amber got first place, and Zoey and Max got third, but so they're still in it, because the 4th team got eliminated.
Josh and Curtis was the 2nd team.
Mm-hmm. And Max is happy, and Zoey is stressed out. She passes by a pre-hire, I think
Curtis or Josh.
No, I think it was a pre-hire that got eliminated.
In the first round, right?
Yeah. And he's singing in disappointment, and he's got headphones in. She stops and says, you're singing out loud, right? Pull yourself together. And that was ambiguous enough to make me wonder whether he was singing out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Or whether that was
Yeah.
something starting.
Right.
So,
Like starting for that day? Or something getting through in the therapy session?
I wondered if it was something like subconsciously, that's when she kind of, maybe she had started hearing people singing before the MRI incident.
Okay.
But he had headphones in, so it's very ambiguous. Then we get a cut of DMD berating this Tony guy, his assistant, about coffee. Like, first it's too hot, then it's too cold, and yeah.
And he had mentioned that point, I didn't note it yet, but
Yeah.
he says something about, I have to maintain a certain heart rate. I like to have my heart rate at a very particular point, and I need the caffeine to maintain that.
Yeah.
Something said kind of off the cuff, but clearly was heard by
Right.
Max and Zoey.
Oh, by Zoey.
By Zoey.
So he calls for a lunch break, if you can break into your lunch. So the second challenge is escape rooming the lunchbox. Max and Zoey are the first to open the first box, only to discover a second box. Zoey goes to the Human Resources book to discover a cipher.
Because Danny Michael Davis had said kind of off the cuff in a snarky way, you can use any resources in the room at your disposal to open the box. And she was like, wait, he said resources. So she goes to the human resources binder.
Side note, breaking into the first box was the Fibonacci code? Fibonacci code. And
1,
she
1,
like
2,
starts
3, 5.
and she starts saying it, and the cut back to the therapist. He's like, I know I said to do all details, but maybe we can cut that one.
I like the Fibonacci sequence.
I like the therapist.
Yeah.
I like the therapist a lot.
I get severe Happy vibes from him. Happy, the security guard. What's his name? From Iron Man. Sorry.
Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. I get Jon Favreau vibes from him.
I like him because he never makes her feel like what she's experiencing is
unacceptable, weird.
Yeah, like out of reality. Like, clearly it is, but he's a good therapist. He's not making her feel crazy.
Yeah.
He's helping her get to the root of it without ever coming off as dismissive of it or anything. I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah. I've never been to a therapy session, but it sure seems that way.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes to the human resources book to discover a cipher, which they find, got the letters underlined, and it spells out "Thinking Out Loud" by Ed Sheeran. Max gets it because he said that when he was researching, he found out that DMD was a big Ed Sheeran fan, so he's like, oh, it's "Thinking Out Loud." Zoey doesn't know the song, so he sings it for her, which gives it away to the other teams. Leaf joins in. While Max and Leaf are busy singing, Zoey opens the box. 70 and 23, the numbers in the song. Love that song. So the team that came in second in the last challenge is eliminated. Zoey commends Max for figuring things out. Max said, "You cracked the code. I just listened to too much Top 40 radio." Zoey apologizes and said she really wants the job. Max apologizes too for mocking her family life, which he's jealous of. It's a really nice bonding moment. She shares her fruit roll-up with him.
Which it never really had because Dad's a dentist.
Right. Mitch calls her from the hospital. Maggie failed the stress test. She had a small heart attack, and they're prepping her for heart surgery. Mitch tells her not to come, but he can't answer if she's going to be okay. It's weird to be getting this story knowing how it ends.
Yeah.
So back in therapy, Zoey says up to that point, loss was something that happened to other people. Zoey comes back from her phone call. Clearly she had been crying. Max is immediately like, "Is everything okay? What's up?" She's like, "Oh, I'm fine." Then DMD comes and addresses Zoey, Max, Leaf, and Amber. The top two people to develop some tech will win the job. Max ignores the task to ask if everything's okay. Tells Zoey to go. Says she can work remotely.
Oof.
Yeah, he's like, "This isn't charity, Zoey. I need you." So it's interesting because he recognizes that she needs to go, but he's also recognizing like, but I do still need you. So let's. This is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah. We've got a problem. Here's how we'll solve it.
Yeah. So Zoey
kind of fits with their dynamic because she's, again, very methodical and her approach is good, but when something interrupts it, I mean, obviously it's a pretty big thing to interrupt this, you can't really blame her, but it does throw her off, and he's like quick to react, like, okay, here's a problem, let's fix that.
Yeah. You need to be where you need to be, but we can still do this.
Yeah.
So Zoey Ubers out, and her Uber driver is Mo! Yay! Any song requests? I call it Mo's Exquisite Playlist. Love it. And Zoey, of course, is like, no, just whatever. So then Mo starts the song that Shut Up and Drive, which I like that that song.
I didn't know it.
I've heard it in, like, gym classes and stuff.
Okay.
I like it.
And she was like, any particular song requests? And Zoey, I don't care, whatever. It's not important to me. And I was like, okay, fine, shut up and drive. I get it. So she puts on that song.
So on the way to the hospital, Zoey comes up with an idea for a heart tracker watch that syncs with the coffee maker. Because DMD had mentioned to Tony he likes to maintain his heart rate via coffee. So then Zoey asks Mo if he can turn down the music, and he's like, no, I just got a job as a building manager. I can, now I can focus on, I don't have to keep Uber driving, and I can focus on my own passions. And then that's when he mentions the jeans company idea with his best friend, and lol. So at the hospital, Maggie is irritated that she's at the hospital, gives Mitch the if anything should happen speech, says, if one of us were to go, you're the one strong enough to keep going. Which is what I would say to you.
Confirmed, I will be dying first.
Nope.
You just doomed me.
No.
Isaac style, no.
No.
That's not reality. This is reality. This is what I want.
You want crunchers? No.
You want puffs? No.
You want banana? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want it whole like this?
No.
Cut a slice. You want it like this? Yeah. Like, that floored me.
You had a conversation with him.
Yes. You want it like this? No. Like this? Yeah.
He can tell us what he wants now.
Sort of.
Pretty well. We just don't often want to give him what he wants.
By the way, side note, sorry. At dinner tonight, when it sounded like he was saying please, I think he was saying cheese. For the Parmesan.
That's all he wanted was more Parmesan.
Cheese.
Can relate.
Because, like, he said that, and we thought it was saying please. But no, I think he was saying cheese. That's how he ate his entire dinner, was just covered in Parmesan cheese.
But he did eat vegetables.
Yes.
The
But,
boy
like,
was
I
born
tried to hide it, and he was like, cheese.
The boy was born in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, back to the thing. So Maggie tells Mitch she'd want him to find love again. Mitch says he can't lose her, and Zoey hears the whole conversation.
Yes, she heats the whole thing up.
Back at therapy, Zoey describes realizing her parents aren't invincible. Like, it could lose them at any time. So then we cut to the presentation. Max FaceTimes Zoey. Leaf and Amber develop a device to monitor the competition called the Sparkler. It starts out well enough, but then, when he sees the competition
Doing well,
it stresses him out. Then it's time for Zoey and Max's presentation. Zoey is in a hospital waiting room and trying to talk like, I'm pumped to be here, and DMD is like, I can't hear you, and like she just screams out in the middle of a hospital waiting room, I'm thrilled to be here. So they present their app, their tech, along with a robot to deliver the coffee. Want it?
Yep.
Tony is rendered obsolete. DMD leaves to decide. Zoey rejoins her family. David's horrible girlfriend asks for nachos. On the way, David passes Emily. They knew each other, and he was her TA. So I think they had a relationship that she ended because he was her TA
in ethics.
In legal ethics. But it was a really, really, really sweet scene. I loved that scene with them. They discussed job stuff, bond a little bit.
I will say, I'm going to interrupt real quick. I've mocked shows in the past, particularly Fox shows that like to do, origin stories of established shows, like, Sleepy Hollow and Gotham, where they just like shoehorn in characters that are well established, like, oh, and by the way, they met when they were children. Like, oh, okay. So I did feel like this episode did that a little bit, like, really? She met Mo and Max all on the same day? Really? But it was fun and nice to see, but it did give me a little chuckle.
Okay, fair enough. So Emily is at the hospital because her friend just had a baby. And
Yeah.
interesting little, a little bit of foreshadowing insofar as, because, you know, David's like, oh, did you just have a baby? I'm like, that's a weird question to ask because clearly she didn't, but.
Right.
But she's
just
like, no, I'm visiting a friend and trying not to. Oh, no, wait, no. She asked him if he was there because he had just had a baby. But she mentions trying not to feel terrified about the prospect of being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so she asks him why he's there, like, oh, did you just have a baby? Like, he's like, no, my mom is in surgery, and he's clearly upset, but not trying to, like, burden her, but she immediately is, I am so sorry, is there anything I can do?
Yeah.
Which I just loved. He's like, no, that he was so, this part was so genuine too, because he was like, that is so kind, but no, it's fine. And she said, hey, can we grab coffee sometime? And then he gets a text at that moment from his horrible girlfriend, Kirsten. Texts a cat gif eating nachos.
Ah.
So, tough call for him.
He does say, yes, let's get coffee sometime. I think. So.
Well, no, because I think he was like, no, because he had gotten the text at that moment, so he was like, I gotta go.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't, like, say yes.
He seemed excited at the prospect, though.
Yeah, so there was definitely some groundwork laid there. So then we cut to Zoey and Mitch in the waiting room. And Mitch has this look on his face like he did when he had his illness.
Yeah.
That 1,000-yard stare just...
She's like, hey, you okay? He's like, oh, yeah, just let my mind wander.
Yeah.
1,000 miles away. She's like, well, let's not do that again.
And it took him just like a half a beat too long to come back.
Yeah. So it may have actually been indicative. And I kind of thought that during the episode.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to eat an olive.
Mm-hmm. How dare you? Do 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 do.
You don't want to swallow an olive too early.
No, you certainly don't, because the olive I just had still had a stem in it.
You.
So.
Or a pit.
No, it was a stem. If you watch the video, you'll see me go. Yeah.
Ew.
I was like, this, I know this blue cheese was in the freezer, but damn, it's kind of hard.
Ew.
It was unpleasant. I'm hoping the next olive hits better.
So, then Max shows up at the hospital, covered in...
Glitter.
Well,
Well.
confetti, like sparkly confetti.
But Zoe's like, you're here, covered in glitter. And even Mitch is like, I think it's just his natural glow.
Yeah.
Mitch being a total bro.
Right. Max tells Zoe she got the job. It turns out that DMD gave Zoey and Leaf the job, not Max. Max is out of surgery. She got a stint, but she's okay. Max goes to leave, and Zoey thanks him. He hugs her, leaves, and Mitch is like, I like him. Kirsten enjoys her nachos.
Which sounded and looked pretty good.
Yeah, right. So they go in to see Maggie, and she's doped up, obviously. And she's like, where's Kirsten? And David's like, oh, I left her in the waiting room. And she said, Good. She's mean. She's like, I heard her talking to her mother on the phone. She was mean. David says he likes codeine, Mom. And then Mitch is like, well, you need to get some rest. She's like, I don't know how I can get any rest with all these bleeps and bloops. So Mitch starts singing to Mags, Dream a Little Dream. She joins in. And again, it's not Zoe's perception like that's actually happening. It's still a musical show even outside the illness. Or is it outside the illness? Shot lingers on, Zoey listening to them sing, and then cut.
My point there being, they go on to explain that they really did sing that song, and it's something they had sung to each other many, many times, but that was me just musing about if some of the musical numbers we've seen really happened that way, or if it was her perception either at the time or in her retelling, if
right.
It was her illness coming through.
Yeah, her whatever it is going on. So back in therapy, Zoe says hearing them sing is when she realized how fragile it all is. They'd sing that song together 1,000,000 times. She says it made her more emotionally guarded. She even mentioned, I immediately put Max in the friend zone after that, or it could have just been because he made fun of my suit.
Yeah.
And then the therapist asks, like, how did you stay connected? And she's like, well, DMD hired Max a month later when DMD's cousin admitted that they were cousins. So,
because what's the word when you hire family members?
Nepotism?
Because nepotism is a bad thing.
Yes. So then the therapist says, I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. The story about your mother's health was also... The story about your mother's health story was also a Max story. Simultaneously a lost story and a love story. So we're not flashing back at this point anymore. She calls Maggie, runs into Max right then because he and Mo were discussing the pop-up that he's going to New York for. And Max says he's leaving next week. So she calls to him their first day. He says he doesn't know what happened to that prototype, but it turns out he did keep it because we see him bringing it out.
Yeah, he has it in his closet and he brings it out, and Rose walks up. What's that? Oh,
nothing. And then we cut back, do another little flashback to the competition, and you had called it. You were like, oh, I know what happened.
Yeah. DMD
had hired Leaf and Max. Poor Tobin and Amber. Amber's like, I'm never going to date you. He's like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Max tells DMD to take Zoey over him, and DMD's like, she didn't even bother to be here. He's like, she was at the hospital with her mom. And even at that point, DMD kind of took a moment.
Yeah.
Recognizing, I think, that she had a family emergency, but she still showed up.
DMD's an interesting character to me. Like, he's very much bought into his own hype, for sure.
But when he found out that she had to FaceTime it because she was in the hospital because of her mom. There was a look. It was kind of an eyebrow raise, like, kind of a realization that, okay, this is somebody who is dealing with a family emergency and still found a way to get the job done.
Yeah.
And, you know, Max is like, you know, she's a better coder than I am. And DMD is like, you're willing to risk your spot here for someone you just met? Max is like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And DMD is like, you're a strange man. But I think that he had already made up his mind when he found out what Zoey had to do under immense pressure. Like, not even just pressure from the pre-hire competition, but also dealing with a family emergency and still delivering. I think he had made up his mind the moment that Max said she was at the hospital because of, you know, her mom is in the hospital. And I think then also, on the same token, when he realized that Max was willing to be a team player and give up his own position for somebody else, he said, you're a strange man. I think at that point he was probably just waiting for an opportunity.
I think he probably looked for an opportunity, but he's...
Because he doesn't strike me as the type of person who would care about nepotism.
Right.
So,
but
sorry, I interrupted.
He's narcissistic enough to be like, no, I set up this competition that 2 people will be hired. I'm not going to compromise that.
Right.
But I am hiring this guy.
Yes.
So he was looking for an opportunity to make sure he had all 3 on board as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Maybe he fired his cousin just for the hell of it. Maybe he just doesn't like him. Who knows?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But and again, like, it's so subtle, but it shows a little more depth to DMD.
Yeah, that's why I say he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
There's more there than we've seen.
More than meets the eye.
More
More than meets the eye.
We're going to wait this out.
80s cartoon.
Ba ba ba. Ba 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 bum.
Transformers.
Autobots wage a battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. Yeah.
Anyway. So Max reflects on this as Rose joins him, because we're back in, you know, modern.
Correct.
Current time.
I think we're done with the flashbacks at this point.
She says that he has a serious decision to make, and he has this worried look on his face. Should we upgrade to first class? Let's go for it. And it rains as they sit in bed. He said, it looks like the rainy window from Friends. But so, a good penultimate episode for the season. The ending was a little, I won't say abrupt, but it was a little, it was a good ending because it gave you, most penultimate episodes give you like this big woo thing.
Yeah.
And this one was just very subtle.
It didn't end with Max and Zoe kissing. It didn't end with him breaking up with Rose. And that's... You were like... Ah! Like, that's... Clearly seemed to be what it was building towards. And it's interesting because it brought up a lot of things for Zoe that made her be like... Maybe giving a second glance at Max. but it still didn't reveal everything about why Max is pretty good for her.
So, as far as the next episode goes, because I know the name of the episode is Zoey's Extraordinary Goodbye.
Okay.
A lot was revealed in this episode. I'm really hoping that the finale doesn't end with Max and Zoey having a big thing, kissing, whatever, because to me, that would be playing way too much into the trope. And they've been doing a really good job of not doing that.
Are they gonna Nick and Jess it?
Which is what I don't want.
Right.
I like the slow burn. And I like that she's with Simon right now.
Simon, who was completely absent from this
Well,
episode.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense because it wasn't about him.
Well, it is interesting insofar as he wasn't at Spark Point at that point. Like, the show didn't start with him being hired, I don't think.
From what I remember, he was new-ish.
He was new.
And she had a crush on him.
How long has she been at Spark Point? Do we know? Long enough for Leaf to stop wearing a man bun.
Thinking Out Loud, Shut Up and Drive. Well, I know Thinking Out Loud was like 2015 because I had first heard it around then and you used it for our 5-year anniversary
Okay.
compilation that you put together.
Sure.
So 6 years.
Okay.
Which is way longer than I'm comfortable with.
Fair enough.
But I'm really hoping that they continue the slow burn.
Go ahead.
I predict that the end of the next episode is not going to be like a big they kiss thing, but I think that they're gonna have a moment that both Rose and Simon observe, and they don't do anything. It's not like they're emotionally cheating. They're trying to just put their past behind them. They don't do anything physical. This is my hope. But just that they both realize, like Rose and Simon realize, this is something a lot deeper than any of them realized.
I'm concerned because they had that moment last episode. Both Rose and Simon had that moment where they observed Zoey and Max interacting, not in a romantic way, but in a way that they were like, this feels unresolved.
More so from Zoe's end than Max's.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Because Max kind of has like this, which is, I'm interrupting myself. Max has a lot more showed conflict with his feelings with Zoey. But last episode it was more on display on Zoe's side. But we see things like Max reflecting on their prototype.
Right.
That isn't observed by the other characters, but it's observed by us.
Right.
I don't know. I'm concerned that it would be redundant for Simon and Rose to observe something
Okay.
with nothing happening. romantically. I don't know. I have the same hope you do, but I don't have enough confidence in shows.
True, we've been burned many times.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's the end. For as much as you typed out.
Got through it actually reasonably quickly.
Yep, and apparently the hiccups are starting. So
you already gave your prediction for next episode. I think one of the relationships is ending next episode, and I don't know which.
I think it's going to be Zoey and Simon.
Yeah, because if it's an extraordinary goodbye, it means Max is still going.
Hiccups. Sorry.
Really good episode, and sorry. Obviously, this was the therapy episode, but I do hope that we still keep getting snippets of her going to therapy.
Yeah.
You just don't need an entire episode around a single session.
Right. But I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
This show has had very little in the way of missteps for me.
Same.
Now, again, I'm easy to please.
Same. I get invested quickly, and I'm just like, yes, you guys, all day.
There was one show that we started. No. There's some shows that we started and never finished. We never finished My Name is Earl.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think did it leave Netflix? Or some, I don't know, for some reason we never ended up finishing it.
I think we stopped with one season ago.
Which, I liked the show, so I don't know why we did that. That might be
no idea.
That might be a
revisit,
but there were very few shows that we never finished. For all intents and purposes, we finished Scrubs.
Yeah.
Because they had that really horrible, final season that we...
Not official. But I think we did finish that.
I don't think we did. I don't remember finishing it.
I feel like we did, but I think it was just so whatever that it didn't even feel like a finale because, season 7 was the actual finale. And then we watched season 8 and it was just like, eh.
I don't even know if we finished that one. I don't remember finishing it. I don't remember how it ended.
We'll double check.
But there's only one show that we ever started and a few episodes in we're like, no, we can't.
Finish your thought.
Outmatched.
Oh, gosh.
That was horrible. And I like Maggie Lawson.
Yeah. It was just...
But it was so bad.
It was terrible.
I was just like, it had so much potential, but it... Yeah.
I can think of 3 shows we started and we were like, nah. Outmatched. True Blood.
Oh, yeah. We got through the first season. It was one of those things where it was intriguing, but there was just too much. It was too much.
It was too HBO.
Yeah.
For us. And Stumptown was the other one that we dropped.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to like that show, but...
Again, like the actress. But
and
the actor.
And the actor, but...
It just went to places where you're just like...
Not interested.
Yeah. Which is a shame.
Yeah.
But no, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Yeah.
I'm all on board with.
Yeah.
Good?
Yep.
See you for the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.